Shot, they score! The Kings make it 4-0. Here's Boyle on the point, getting it in front, the shot, score! There's the wall.
They score! It's 4-2! Side they score! Logan Couture! Score! Ryan Clough! Through, and Pavelski ties the game! They score! Devin Setaguchi and the San Jose Sharks win it in overtime in one of the most remarkable comebacks in Stanley Cup playoff history.
What's going on, Shark fans and NHL fans waiting for this video? I know some of you have been waiting for a while for me to talk about the Sharks, and what do you know, the season begins this Saturday, and I definitely cannot wait. A lot of these teams start playing on Thursday, some on Friday, but yeah, the Sharks, this had to have been one of the most chaotic or interesting off seasons for the Sharks. I mean, there were a lot of needs the Sharks needed to fix, and that was, of course, the defense. And they did just that by adding guys and trading for one, which I'll talk to you very soon. So going out, of course, is Nicholas Volin, guys who were pretty much, and Ken Huskins, all this dead weight that wasn't really necessary. Ben Eager, the line goes on, list goes. But also the big trades. And of course, the first one that happened was trading Devin Setaguchi and 2 first-round draft picks. Technically Charlie Coyle was just another first-round draft pick, so 2 first-rounders and Setaguchi for Brent Burns and a second-round pick. Brent Burns has been a defenseman. We've needed a defenseman. It's no secret. I think every person who knows the Sharks knows that the Sharks have needed a blue liner for a while. And there weren't very many great defensemen out on the market either. That was the problem. So, as with most California teams getting a player in his prime, you have to either trade for him or you have to go homegrown. I think Niedermeyer was the last California player to sign in his prime with a California team for the Ducks. But other than that, pretty much all the Sharks roster is either homegrown or they came through trade when it comes to players in their prime. Because everyone, obviously Thornton came through trade. Obviously, we already know Dan Boyle came through trade. The list goes on. So Brent Burns comes to us, and he provides huge second pairing minutes, and he'll take a lot of those minutes off of Dan Boyle. Very offensive-minded. People have said he's a defensive liability, but I beg to differ at the same time. He was still an all-star caliber defenseman, and we have needed a second defenseman that can make instant impact like him. So Brent Burns, Setaguchi was a necessary sacrifice, as said before. The defensemen don't come easy, and it's pretty hard to find those guys because forwards come in bunches. It's easy to find them, so it was a necessary sacrifice. Then, all of a sudden, the Sharks later find a way to get rid of Danny Heatley and go trade him for Martin Havlat straight up. And, of course, most Shark fans are satisfied with this deal because Danny Heatley was dead weight. He wasn't coming through in the postseason. You could say he was playing injured, but at the same time, he also was extra baggage, He's paid to score. I think his salary was $8.5 million, even though his cap hit was $7.5. He wasn't worth it. I don't know how this guy was an all-star, a 50-goal scorer in Ottawa once. He wasn't showing it with us, even though he had potentially Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau to play with. He wasn't doing it in the second year, and very disappointing, So, we traded for Martin Havlat, a guy who can do things in the postseason. He's cheaper, which is huge, for the sake of financial stuff. And then it's another guy you can pass. Thornton obviously knows how to pass well. Havlat, from what I heard, has the speed. He was one of the stars, technically in Minnesota, but at the same time, he wasn't the big star because Minnesota was an offensive challenge team. I guess there wasn't much chemistry with Mikko Koivu that Havlat was lacking, so Havlat has good postseason numbers, and he hasn't been that injury-prone player he once was. He's recovered pretty well since then. And just for the sake of getting rid of Danny Heatley, that's addition by subtraction in itself. And I think a lot of Shark fans can be satisfied with that move, including myself. I was happy. So those are pretty much the big moves of this offseason. The other additions, of course, Michael Handzus for the third line. Needed a veteran on the bottom 6. We got that in Michael Handzus. I'm happy for that. Of course, the additions of Colin White and Jim Vandermeer, who are on the defense as well. They'll be the bottom pairing with Jason Demers and probably rotate around because we have 7 defensemen in the lineup. So let's go down through the line. First off, the forwards, you have, of course, Patrick Marleau, Joe Thornton, and then you could have Logan Couture or Joe Pavelski on that first line. It kind of varies. But Logan Couture has made Devin Setoguchi expendable, which is why another reason why it was easy to get rid of Setoguchi. I was curious as to whether we dumped his rights or something, but instead we signed and traded him, and what do you know, it all works out. Fletcher of Minnesota got what he wanted, and the Sharks got what we needed as the defenseman. So, yeah, Marleau, Thornton, Couture on the first line is what I prefer. Pavelski might be there instead, which is, of course, a solid first line. And then on the second line, you got Klo, you got Havlat, and then you got Pavelski or Couture. I would prefer Pavelski because I want Couture on the first line. Once again, Pavelski would move up to the second line, and that's huge because he's not a third liner. He's not necessarily the best defensive guy compared to offense. He's ability to play second line minutes. So, Devin Setoguchi being that seventh best or sixth best forward we had, perfectly fine. You know, Pavelski's a lot better than him. So, second line, once again, very solid. And then you got this third line. This is the interesting part. You got Torrey Mitchell, who's the speedy one. He came on well at the end of last year. Michael Handzus, who is expected to play defense. He's slow, but he could still win the face-offs and play defense for us, which is huge. We need a guy that can also have leadership and the veteran presence, which was good as well. So Handzus on the third line in penalty killing. And then the third guy, Tommy Wingels. In the preseason, this guy emerged. Wingels is expected to be on the third line as a wing, so that'll be interesting that he cracks the third line. And then the fourth line, you have a new guy, Brad Winchester, who will be your enforcer. Hopefully he's got some grit like Ben Eager did. Hopefully he's a lot more mature than Eager as well. Then you got, of course, Fraser McLaren. You got Andrew Desjardins, Andrew Murray. That's pretty much, you're going to probably rotate that fourth line, which is good because it's not all guys from Worcester, not all these farm guys. You have some veterans this time. There's a minor flaw in the bottom six. I would probably have one more veteran here or there. I think Doug Wilson might try to trade one during the season, try to get one more veteran. But other than that, this is a good forwards group. The top six are locked up for the next 2 to 3 years, so that's a good sign. Now on to the blue line. This is supposed to be the great upgrade that we made. First pairing, you have Boyle, Murray, pretty expected, pretty solid. Second pairing, Brent Burns and Mark-Edward Vlasic. Brent Burns provides the puck moving we've needed. He can even score goals if he's able to, if we need to, because he's got the shot, and he could also play wing if we're really desperate. So on the power play, you have Burns and Boyle, which is really nice and offensive-minded. Vlasic is still a pretty good shutdown defenseman. He played well last year. And then in the third pairing, you have a rotation. You probably will have Jason Demers as your puck mover, and then your shutdown guy being Vandermeer or Colin White. They'll probably rotate the two. Colin White is a bit old, but he could still provide some physical grit. He's not that guy he was once with the Devils, but I think he has some gas left in the tank. So the defense has been upgraded. Justin Braun might work his way up if there's an injury, but the defensive core, much better compared to previous years. We haven't seen a good blue line in quite a long time for the Sharks, and it's about time. This could arguably be the most talented Shark rosters in a long time for this team. Doug Wilson has done an excellent job at forming a contender, and now it's all time for the players to live up to their hype and be the contenders they're expected to be. The goalies, of course, Antti Niemi expected to be the starter. He rebounded well in the second half, no question. And then Niittymaki is reportedly hurt, so you got Thomas Greiss in at backup. This is his chance to shine. I like Thomas Greiss, and I'm fine with him as the backup. If there's another injury or something out of the blue, we might see Tyson Sexsmith, Hari Sateri maybe. But that should be about it. Niemi should be solid. Won't be shutting out opponents, but the Sharks' offense will still be good. Don't worry so much about Setoguchi being gone. I'm not too worried about that at all. So, the Sharks, a great offseason. I'm expecting to be contenders, and looking at the Pacific, the Kings are the only team that may be the Pacific contenders at the division. The Ducks have some offense, don't have the defense necessarily. Phoenix and Dallas are pretty dead. Dallas has some nice talent, but they still have ways to go, and Phoenix lost everyone. So, Kings pretty expected to be contenders with their additions, but the Sharks are the better team in the present. The Kings have the better future. It's a 2-year window. Everyone is locked up for at least 2 years. Doug Wilson knows the window is closing. You could say those moves he made were panic moves, but it's the right moves at the same time if you want to build a contender. And Doug Wilson has done that. So let's go Sharks. See you guys later, and you'll see me in 2012 when I'll be probably talking Sharks a bit more. See you guys later.